So welcome back after lunch. This is the most difficult spot they gave us, huh? After
No,
lunch.
come on. How is the energy?
So we will try our utmost to keep you a little bit awake and entertained. So now we talk about consumer goods, and I think Magnus started today talking about 54%. It's the biggest business area what we have in our portfolio. When we are starting looking at the addressable market, this is basically where we are in with our categories, then it's a very sizable market. We speak about a market size of 63 billion euros and a predicted growth in the coming years between 2 and 3%. And when you listen to the presentation, which I assume of Sahil, we talked about consumer goods shall grow more than 3%, which means the message is very clear. We want also in terms of growth outperform the market. What is very important for us is our strength. 90% of our consumer goods business portfolio has a number 1 or a number 2 position. And why is this important? Because there's always a place for the market leader on the retail shelf. There's always a place for a strong, challenging number 2 on the shelf. It will be more and more difficult for number 3 and 4 brands to keep on profitably keep shelf space in retail. This is valid in Europe, but also in Latin America. But it's more not only about the 90% of number 1 and number 2 positions what we have. We have also, and this is a quite interesting figure, in 53% we have growing market shares. And there is a lot of talk, and we talked also during the tour, about the downtrading consumer. So for a branded business, this is a very strong figure. So 53% have growing market share in quarter 3, and 71% have growing or stable market share. I think this is a pretty strong performance, but I will talk about the downtrading consumer a little bit later. When you look at our geographical footprint, you can say roughly 2/3 of the business sits in Europe. This is our biggest business. 26% sits in Latin, and the other 8% are more or less globally spread after the divestment of Vinda. From a category perspective, 58% with consumer tissue, 42% in what we call the personal care categories, with feminine 18% and Inco 15% being the biggest ones. If you look at these are figures you know very well. 2024 9 months year-to-date figures. We have reported a negative growth of -1.1%. What is a little bit hidden in this figure is this is mainly coming from price reductions we did in 2023. The underlying volume growth was very, very good. And when you look at quarter 3 isolated, our OSG was already +3%, with 5% coming from volume and 2% negative in pricing. So we are in a position at the moment that we are over proportionally growing the business and outperforming the business. One of the big focus areas of the last years, I could even say, is the gross profit margin. Why? Because we need a healthy gross profit margin in order to step up A&P investment behind our brands. And when you look at the development here, 29.3, 240 basis points up, I think this is also a very, very good development. And I think you had a question before how we see A&P investment in the future. Exactly what we have done in the cost of goods sold and in pricing gives us the possibility to step our investments in the brands. And we have been reporting a 12.4% EBITDA margin in the quarter. And don't forget, this was not a year where the raw material market was in favor of us. This is the long-term development of the business area consumer goods. We are reporting 3% growth. Of course, this is very much affected by the divestments of Russia and Vinda. But what you also can see a significant step up in the EBITDA margin from 10.9, slightly below 11, to 12.4%. And we believe we have established over the last years a platform which has the right to grow. And this explains also our ambition to outperform the market in the future. What are and what have been the critical success factors in consumer goods? One of the biggest changes, I'm 30 years with the company, is most probably on the innovation side, that we are coming from a more technology base, so what can the machine produce, to a much more consumer insight-based innovation funnel. I think Thomas was giving you some very, very nice examples, but I think we are today in a very consumer insights-driven innovation one. What we also have done, the speed how we bring innovation to market and the frequency in every category, we have been stepping up. We have today more, faster, and also more powerful innovations there. Another recipe for success for us is that we are consistently, and I emphasize the word consistently, investing behind our powerful and trusted brands. We believe that we have a superior go-to-market process, and there is a very, very special focus on the point of sales with our Perfect Store program. When you look at the tissue category, then insights are showing that sometimes shoppers are taking purchasing decisions within 5 to 8 seconds. So the point of sales is the point where you have to win, and we have been addressing this with our Perfect Store program. Donato was talking, and I think this was very nice, about COVID and our ability to deliver. If there was anything positive from the COVID time, is that we have been demonstrating the supply chain, our agility to deliver and support our customers. And based on that, we were in a position, and we are still leveraging this, to develop much stronger retailer relationships compared to the past. Then, of course, there is a point, and I will talk about this a little bit more explicitly in a minute. There is a point about agility and pricing power, what we have been demonstrating, what we were forced to demonstrate, because the prices, the costs, of course, have been suggesting that. And there is a last point here, which is, of course, not only in consumer tissue, also in the personal care category. It's very important for us. This is a cost-efficient end-to-end supply chain. And I would call it, I think Donato was talking about this early on, I would call it a customer-centric end-to-end supply chain. I think you got an impression what a hub is doing at the moment, what we mean with that. If you look at the last 5 years, I would say they have been very eventful. 2019, mainly for the European business, new European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the Green Deal. Everybody was talking about sustainability. Everybody. It was only one topic, every top to top with the retailer, sustainability. 2020, COVID. Do you remember the times of the empty shelves, no toilet paper, no bathroom tissue available? Everything was about product availability. This was followed, because pandemic was, of course, a health crisis, with an increasing hygiene awareness. At the same time, we had the lockdowns, consumers couldn't spend money, so they spent more for our products. And of course, the premium segment was growing very, very, very fast. 2021, pulp prices peaking, our first or next wave of price increases. 2022, Ukraine war started, energy crisis, more price increases, etc., etc. So what we have been doing, and this ended then in 2023, you could say as a reaction of hyperinflation with a downtrading consumer, especially in consumer tissue, less in the personal care categories, we were forced, and we have demonstrated our organizational agility in a fast changing 5 years, every year something differently on top of the agenda. When I talk about demonstrated agility, I mean, of course, I speak also about agility we have proven in the supply chain in other parts of the organization. For example, also in the innovation side, when you have a downtrading consumer and hyperinflation, you have to adjust your innovation funnel to the market. But what we have been doing is, in average today, we have much shorter customer contracts than in the past. Why is this important? In an unpredictable environment, it gives us the possibility to adjust prices much faster to the situation than we had this in the past. We have basically today, except where it's legally needed, no contract terms longer than 1 year. Usually it's maximum 6 months and a lot of open contracts and so on. We have proven in this crisis time that we were able to manage bold price increases. Now I would call it's about smart price increases. What do I mean with that? We speak in the language of sales about applying the principles of net revenue management. So as we speak here, we have 700 people in our European sales organization undergoing a training of net revenue management. which deals with finding the right promo efficiency, the right mix, dealing with price pack architecture, and all this stuff. So this is what I would call more smart pricing, in order also to have value creation and positive mix improvement in the future. A big part of what we have done in the past was capability building. What do I mean with capability building? We were one of the first companies educating our sales staff on virtual selling. We were used until 2020 to meet physically customers, interact with them. Believe me, virtual selling in a Teams mode is a completely different stuff. What we're doing right now is we are training our organization on monetization of sustainability. You have seen a lot about our sustainability roadmap. Obviously, there's also a price tag to that. So, of course, from the commercial side, it's our responsibility to get a payback from our customers. But it's not only about what we do in sales. I think it's also important what we do on the sourcing side. And I talked with a couple of you during the tour about furnish improvements, fiber mix improvements. So we have been working a lot, and this is also reflected, of course, in the COGS savings, which we are showing, Donato was showing earlier on. We have worked a lot with changing the fiber grades, a different one, to optimize the cost mix. We have been also working with our pulp suppliers on alternative contract models in order to have more flexibility when the market is changing in one or the other direction. So we have done a lot, I think, to demonstrate pricing agility. Shall we have a look into the various categories, Andres?
Sure, Volker, thank you for that. And now we will walk you through our categories and the role they play in this value creation journey we are working together. And let's kick off with intimate hygiene. Intimate hygiene made up of incontinence and feminine care and the role they play in our business. Let's start with incontinence. Our goal, our ambition, is to keep leading and shaping this category. Essity, through TENA's brand, is now #1 brand in incontinence globally. We hold #1 positions in Europe, #1 position in Latin America, and #1 position in countries like Canada. And how to keep doing this? Of course, there is a big challenge in incontinence. You need to turn deniers into acceptors. And that is why it is so important, trial. We invest a lot on trial. But then, once you try the product, once you try our solutions, we need to accelerate our penetration and, of course, keep building our brand, a trusted brand, to break taboos, to break stigmas, especially around incontinence. But it's not just keep leading. It is also to keep expanding this leadership. And that is why we are making a big bet on TENA Men. TENA Men is going to be the next big thing, mark my words. TENA Men is going to be the opportunity, one of those big opportunities we have to differentiate and bring innovation to the market. But it's not just about new segments, new opportunities. It's about geographies as well. Where we are not leading yet, our goal is to be the best improvers. And a good example of that is US. This morning we had a question about US, okay? And what we are doing now in US is that we are acting as strong challengers in US market, okay? So we have established a new organization in this market. We have broad capabilities, retail capabilities, consumer capabilities. We are over-investing in e-commerce. We are building a new brand, TENA brand, with a different approach. And actually, we are now the fastest growing incontinence brand in e-commerce in this country. So now we are acting as a strong challengers in US market. And speaking of challengers, this is a fantastic example. A decade ago, Essity decided to enter into the incontinence market in a massive market like Brazil. Brazil is probably the biggest market in Latin America in consumer goods, one of the top 5 biggest markets in the world in consumer goods. And 10 years ago, we were just challengers in this country. And this is how Essity performs when acting with consistency in the market, with innovation, with quality, being close to the consumers, but also making and building strong partnerships with our customers. And now we are super proud leaders in this market with 32% of market share. I love this picture, okay? The second category in intimate hygiene is feminine care. And what is our ambition in feminine care? Accelerating growth. We are leaders, undisputed leaders in Latin America. We are number 3 players, strong players in Europe, and approaching to a strong second place in Europe. And of course, the fuel of what we need to fuel right now in feminine care is about keep bringing right solutions with the right performance. Performance drives purchase intention. Discretion is super important in this category. And of course, protection. But also this is supported by strong regional brands. We don't act in this category with global brands, but instead of that, regional brands. So we operate in different markets with different brands like Nana, Bodyform, Libres, Saba, Nosotras. So the power of the brand is super strong and relevant in this category, but not just keep accelerating. Like in continents, like in TENA, we want to expand the market. And one of the big opportunities we see is the night segment. Night segment is a very strong segment, growing rapidly, faster than the rest of the category, actually. But it's not just important because it's very useful during the night time. It is also because night products are long-lasting products. So long-lasting products are very, very interesting for the consumer in moments where convenience is critical nowadays. And last but not least, Essity, always one step ahead in terms of the mega trends, has decided to expand opportunities into the absorbent apparel by using brands like NYX in North America, Modi Body in Australia, and that's the other opportunity to keep expanding this category. And this is just a great example as well, how Essity builds leadership in the different markets. And this is just fantastic because in Mexico, we operate using Saba brand, and with consistency, with quality, with a lot of innovation, building a strong partnership with our customers. We are now holding number 1 position in Mexico, the second biggest market in Latin America, and among the top 5 in the world after Japan. And actually, we have a quite similar position in countries like Colombia with Nosotros brand. So this is just to prove you that when we work consistently, this is what we can get. And finally, Europe. Europe is just a fantastic case where we are growing faster than the rest of the market. We have been outperforming the market during the last 4 years, building super strong positions in key markets. Number 2 in UK, number 1 in Nordics, number 2 in France, actually number 2 in Italy as well. And how this has happened so far, investing in those fastest growing formats, investing in capabilities like revenue growth management, as you said, Volker, before, increasing availability in those fastest growing retail channels, and of course, with a strong segmentation in those higher profits segments that we are having in this category. And then I can hand over to you again.
You could have left the other slide a little bit longer. Fastest growing femcare business in Europe is something
sure, we can stay there longer.
Extremely proud of. Now we go to consumer tissue, our biggest category. You have seen 58% in our portfolio. You saw from Sahil also the expected market growth. So we expect the market to grow between 1% and 2%. It's a 17 billion market. And in Europe, we are with a market share of 25%, a quarter of the market. By far the market leader, relative market share 2 to the next competitor. And I think with 90% market share in Latin America, we have also a pretty reasonable, pretty strong market position. Our ambition in consumer tissue, in line with our portfolio changes and portfolio strategy, is to grow in line with the market, which means in translation that we continue to prioritize the value creation over the volume development. What is really very important, now I can talk a couple of words about the downtrading consumer, is that we are winning, we want to win across all the tiers, and that we are strengthening what we call the mid-tier offer. What do I mean with that? Our strength is in the premium, and this is where we are playing, where we are enjoying higher margins. But in the consumer tissue category, we have seen in 2023, as a result of the price increases happening in the market, we have seen in downtrading consumer. At the moment, you have seen the 53% brands are gaining market share. So now the brands are fighting back, but in 23 it was that. So in order to keep the consumer on the brand and not lose it to a competitor or retail brand, we have been refocusing on the mid-tier assortment. So we have been introducing new articles, some of them you see here in the background, in order to respond to the downtrading consumer. Our strategy remains, of course, if the position or if the situation, business environment allows it, to also trade up the consumer again to higher tiers in our assortment. Sustainability in consumer tissue is absolutely crucial. Disposable product, energy intensive, water. And we have the solutions. We are today perceived as the market leader in sustainability when it comes to consumer tissue. We have been inventing the coreless product. We have been inventing the wheat straw product here. We have been, in terms of how we are running paper machines with hydrogen, you have seen the Void example, which is something for the future. So we have the leading sustainability solutions on the market, and it remains important for this category, absolutely. And last but not least, what we believe is, with our dual-track strategy, i.e. a commitment to our own brands and to strategic retailer brand businesses. You have seen in the production here, Bosco Verde for Mercadona. You talked about the market shares of Mercadona. This provides us with the unique scale to run successfully and profitably a tissue business. We have also said a couple of years ago that we are, in some parts, we have a special focus. And this is a nice example. You can also get some samples here. I think you found them also in your hotel room, about moist toilet paper. In 2019, we have decided to a so-called boost moist toilet paper brand. Why? Because the predictions was this is the fastest growing segment in tissue. It's not really tissue, but it's basically retail sees it as a tissue product. And actually, the prediction was correct. The market has been growing 7% per year, which is enormous. We have seen 1 to 2% is the tissue market, 7% is that one. And Essity, we have been growing 16%, so twice the market. And today, 2024, we are more or less the market leader in every European market where we are present. So this is one example. And there are others like the coreless products, like facial and hankies, where we have a special focus and where we are really also investing most of our A&P money behind that. Another nice example from our colleagues from Latin America is this product here. Again, based on consumer insights. What is the consumer asking for? And the consumer asks for a sustainable range. So under the Familia brand, we have been launching the Green Range, which is a 100% recycled fiber range. It's 20% lower carbon footprint for all the rolled products, i.e. kitchen towel and bathroom tissue. And already after the launch, the product has reached a 5% market share, which is really significant in a relatively short time after the launch. And you will not attend any presentation of two sales guys without any advertising. So let's have a look at...
Sí, a los que dicen, veámonos y se ven. Sí, a los que comen con ganas. Sí, a la que limpia de una. Sí, a los que reciclan. Ahora dile sí a ser más green con las toallas Familia Green, con fibras 100% recicladas. Pásate a la línea Familia Green y comprueba su rendimiento. Familia.
Good. Let's come to our... You like it. Let's come to... I thought you were starting to dance now. Let's come to our fourth and definitely not least interesting category, which is baby care. Baby care I mean, by definition, you are renewing your shopper base every 3 years. So the point of market entry is very, very important to us. And a lot of our innovations of the last years have been really focusing on the recruitment sizes, like sizes 1 and 2. You can see them also here in the background. This is a category where we have made, and thanks to our colleagues in Thomas' organization, a big mindset shift. I think we had a little bit of mindset of being a fast follower. You could even question if we were fast, but we were a follower one. When you look at the innovations we are presenting you here in the background, like what we have now, the new leakage solution, what we call internally Tetris solution, launched in a couple of countries already. When you look at POO, so the pocket solution and so on, Essity was the first one on the market with the solutions, and now others are copying us with that one. So this is something where we are extremely proud of, from a fast follower strategy, going in more in leading and shaping the market in the baby category. What is also important in the baby category, and the baby category for us means, of course, also building on a super strong business in the Nordic countries, where we're enjoying in all the 4 countries market positions of 60%. This is really great. And what we have there is a fantastic loyalty tool, the Baby Club, and with 90% of the Nordic parents registered in this club. So this is a fantastic base for us also to generate insights. So this is also part of our strategy. Shall we conclude by answering the question, where will the growth come from?
Sure, Volker. And actually, this slide summarizes quite well that long story in a short way. What we aim for the coming years is to protect and strengthen our core, grow in line with the market in consumer tissue, but outperform the market in those intimate hygiene categories and personal care categories. But it's not just the core, it's to expand for more. And you heard about Tenamen as a key segment for incontinence, night segment for feminine care, absorbent apparel also for feminine care, and last but not least, and this is not wishful thinking, the big bet that we are making as strong challengers in US market. And I'm saying that this is not wishful thinking, because we have been growing at double-digit rate during the last 8 quarters in US since we designed this strategy to act as strong challengers in the US market. So the strategy is just working, okay? And lastly, this is just a summary what you just heard from us. Firstly, we aim to strengthen our leading positions in Europe and Latin America, but also we need to expand to act as a challenger in those wider spaces that we have in terms of the category and in terms of the geographies. We need to invest more to grow in those highest margin categories, innovating, building our brands. We are super passionate about the brands. Also investing to win in the point of market entry and in the point of sale. And last but not least, a lot of efficiency end-to-end. But efficiency is not just cost cutting. Efficiency is about capital management, it's about resources allocation, it's about end-to-end efficiency mindset, starting by our suppliers and extended this mindset to our customers. That's a top priority for us in our categories. And of course, expand our margins through mix, pushing ahead our mix to more profitable categories and segments. So, having said that, thank you for listening, and open and happy to have your questions.